Hey guys, welcome. Welcome to part 5 of our 10-part series of Shooting the IDF Way. Today we're going to be talking about kneeling. Some of the guys that don't know who I am that are going to watch this afterwards, my name is Mikey Hartman. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the IDF. I served for 22 years in the Israeli army. My main job was to build the shooting school of Israel. I wrote the Israeli doctrine on how to shoot a gun. It's basically the only thing I know, and I love talking about this stuff. So I'm here only to try to teach you guys and give you guys the way we do it in the IDF. It doesn't mean it's the right way, but it works for us. I say that every time. And we're just trying to open up your minds and give you guys a little knowledge that we want to share with you. Something that's important, we've had a pretty much tough month with weather here in South Florida. You know, we lost electricity for a few days, but Irma was kind of tough. But Maria has really hit Puerto Rico very hard. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. As we did with Harvey and Houston, we're going to be donating 10% of all of our web sales income through the weekend to the hurricane efforts in Puerto Rico. And just know that our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. Because this is basically all I know, I'm going to try to offer something to you guys out there. This is for free. I don't want anything. But it's something that I want you guys to know that we're going to offer. My true gift is to train how to shoot. I've probably trained more people than any living human being on the planet. I know that sounds kind of conceited, but it's true. I've trained over 500,000 soldiers how to shoot a gun. It's really the only thing I know. I can't run very well. I've never been good at sports at school, but that's the only thing that God gave me. So I want to see if I can share this talent. What I'm offering is anybody that's out there that wants for us to critique your shooting position, whether it be standing, kneeling, sitting, prone, whatever. You guys can send pictures to our CA Facebook page in a direct message. No one has to see it. It can be pictures of you on 4 different angles or a video of you shooting. I will then go over those pictures, go over that video, and tell you what I think you're doing wrong to try to improve your shooting. You don't have to take it up. It's something we're offering for free. It's just a way for us to get our knowledge to you, and if you want to use it, it's yours. Okay, we're going to now start talking about the kneeling position. First thing we do, we're going to talk about the gun and make sure everything's safe. We are using a gun that has no bolt in it and a rod, a yellow plastic rod through the chamber, through the barrel, so no round can come in. Okay, this is the gun we're going to be using all day. I first want to talk about when do we use the kneeling position. You know what? First I'm going to say when we don't use the kneeling position. We don't kneel during the national anthem. It's just not smart, it's not respectful, and you don't need to do it. Okay, we've had a whole bunch of issues here in America. And if my liberal friends are upset about me saying don't kneel during the anthem, live with it, life is difficult. Let's talk about when you do kneeling position. We kneel in 5 different scenarios in battle. One, if I'm in open terrain and I'm charging a target, my cover fire from the company is now turning off. It can't shoot anymore when I get very close to the enemy because of the angles are closed. So now I have to create cover fire inside of the strength that is running towards the enemy. We call it in Hebrew red chapeh, or go down to kneeling to cover. It's always the guy on the far right or the far left, the one closer to the target. He's always the guy going down to a kneeling position and giving cover. So basically, the kneeling position is obviously more accurate than the standing position. It's a position that I use when I need to create more accuracy or when I want to get away from the enemy. I want to give him a less of a target. So in one place we use the kneeling position, in open terrain, in a quick, short range. It can be in a short range as well. While I'm charging a target, inside of the force that's charging, I put a little guy in the kneeling position to give me cover fire, when my other cover fire is not relevant anymore. Number 2, CQB. I can have a guy going next to the door, aiming down the alleyway, down the street. You can be in a kneeling position for a long time in CQB, clearing doors. So I have this guy pressed against the wall, looking up, looking down, looking straight. It's another place you use kneeling. So you can do it in the CQB and you can do it in the open air. A third option that you guys can use the kneeling position is when I have a low cover. I have a car, I have a brick wall, I have something that I can use as cover. I can't stand behind that because they're going to see me. So I want to go lower. That's a third thing I can do. Another thing when we use a kneeling position in the IDF, it's for longer range. So we want to be able to shoot between 50 and 150 meters. We use the kneeling position. The closer ranges, obviously, we use the standing position. The mid ranges, 50 to 150, we use the kneeling position. And north of 150, we use the prone position as a rule of thumb. There's always rights and lefts to that, but that's the rule of thumb. So middle distances is a kneeling position. Kneeling obviously is more accurate because my elbow is resting on my leg. So the weight of the gun is against the floor. We'll talk about it in a second. So this is where, and we use the kneeling position. Another area that we use the kneeling position, when we started in a standing position, and I'm shooting, and I have a stoppage, now I have to deal with the stoppage. So when I deal with the stoppage, I'm always gonna go low. I'm never gonna take care of a stoppage in front of an enemy. I have no rounds in the chamber. I cannot shoot him, I cannot engage him. I'm not gonna give him a full target, a full silhouette, when I can't shoot back. So I always go down to the kneeling position to deal with stoppages. We're gonna talk about that in length. Today, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm bringing in a good friend of mine. His name is Garrett Machine. Welcome, Garrett, come in. And Garrett is a guy that did the IDF with me as well. He just did it for less than I did. And, it's all good. Now, what we're going to use Garrett here for, and the guys from Go Rock Shooter know this guy, he's pretty famous here in America in training. I want to be able to show you guys the position and show you how we build it and how we fix it, and when things are wrong with the kneeling position, what to look for. So what we're going to do today, we're going to use Garrett as a model. He's better looking than I am anyway. And we're going to show you the exact kneeling position, how to build it. We're going to start from the bottom up. And we're going to show how we do this, okay guys? So we're going to take the gun, the same gun we were using before, and now we're going to talk about the base. So the first thing Garrett's going to do, please, get into the kneeling position. We're going to aim towards the target here. The first thing we want to do in the kneeling position, we want to build a strong base. When the base is large, okay, when your legs are at 90 degrees between themselves, we are building a much larger base that's much more secure because there's more points of contact with the ground. If Garrett would close his legs, okay, now he's a lot less secure. There's no stability on his base. So let's go back to the 90. So one thing we do here is 90 degrees here. Another thing that we want to do, we want the toes of the forward leg to be pointed towards the target. Okay, very, very important. Number 3, we want this leg to be straight. Okay, this leg is straight. It's not forward. Take it forward. And it's not back. Okay, a lot of people make this mistake that they bring the leg back, and again, is not stable. So if you have very, very long legs, you can go forward. You don't want to. You want to be at 90, okay? The whole idea is to bring the weight from the gun, through the arm, through the leg, to the ground straight. That's the whole idea here. So I want it to be this way. If I can't, I move forward. I don't move back, okay? So that's the one thing we want to do here. We have 90 degrees between the leg. I'm going to move you, turn around, 180. So what we want to do when we're looking on the back here, we see that Garrett is sitting on his toes. Now, sitting on his back leg, and the toes are like a spring. We're going to talk about that in a second. It allows you to get up faster. Now, a lot of people are going to have a difficulty sitting on the leg. We're going to talk to you guys about how we do that and how we fix that, okay? Turn around, please. Back to them. Thank you. Okay, so we got the 90 degrees we spoke about. Let's talk about our left hand. Now, there are 2 options with your left elbow. Either you put it forward above, in front of the knee, or you can put it in the back of the knee. Now the way you do it, you use the skin underneath your elbow and you run it forward and that locks it. Okay, you put the elbow on the knee and then you run it down, that locks it, or you can bring it back and lock in the back. So it's either a reverse lock or a forward lock. What you never do is put the elbow on the knee and leave it there because there's no stability, you're shaking too much. So it's either before or back, either one is fine. Default, go forward, okay? But if you can't do it or you're a very tall guy, a lot of guys bring it back, okay? Those 2 are allowed. No other options are allowed then, okay? We're good. Now let's talk about the right shoulder. Here, we always want the right shoulder to be 45 degrees, okay? The 45 degrees is something that, this was a big fight in the IDF. A lot of guys would go 90, a lot of guys would go straight. So when you pick up something, anything you pick up, when you pick it up, your elbow's always at 45. Do what comes natural. Don't be a machine. Do what comes natural. So we want your right elbow to be at 45. Let's go back into the position, okay? As we said before, the toes are towards the target. We already spoke about that. We're at 90 degrees here, okay? And this is how we shoot in the kneeling position. This is the perfect kneeling position. Now, when we show the position, we have to now talk about how we deal with certain things. The magazine here, we're showing it against the arm, okay? Let's do it against the arm, okay? So what you're, okay, so what we're doing now, we're showing that the magazine is pressed against his forearm on the inside, and his fingers, as you guys can see, his forward fingers are above his thumb. So his fingers are high, his thumb is low, and that's the way it has to be. and it's against the magazine, okay? We do not, the 5 points of contact that we spoke about in our first lesson don't change, whether it be lying down, kneeling, prone, sitting, whatever. They're all the same 5 points of contact. So we see the exact thing that we spoke about earlier. We have it against here, and we have the fingers above. So this is the correct kneeling position. Now let's aim towards the target, please. And what we're going to show you now are the common mistakes. What mistakes people make in the kneeling position, okay? And there's multiple mistakes that people make. We want to show you first thing, let's go back to the kneeling position, the right one. We want you guys to notice that there has to be a straight line between the toes and the back leg. So I'm building an L, I'm building a 90 degrees. I want to be able to show them that. Go to your right, and to your right, please, sir. Thank you. Now, what you want to see here is that this leg and the rear leg are in one straight line. Many people make this mistake. Move your leg to here, Panima, your right leg. Okay, and what happens is, aim at the target. Sorry, aim at them. Sorry about that. Let's see it. Go, I got it. What we do, a lot of people make this mistake, that their front leg is not 90 degrees, but it's in the middle of the leg. So what happened now, my whole base is not good. You can see a lot of people making this mistake, and when they go into the position, you can see that this leg is not towards the target, it's off to the right. This happens a lot when you go to the kneeling position fast. So when you're making that mistake, when you go from standing to kneeling that we're going to talk about, a lot of people do it and they don't fall to the correct 90, they fall to less than 90. That's problem number one. Problem number two, that I'll show you if I'm already here, is that people have a difficulty sitting on their butt. So what happens is, they go forward and to the right, and their whole body is off to the right. Sorry that I'm talking with my back. So I want Garrett to just do that for you, if you can. You're going to just go to the right. He's not going to be able to sit down on his butt. So I'm up here. Okay, yeah, he's up. He's higher up. So now we have a problem because there's flexibility problems. Big guys, heavy guys have a serious problem sitting on their leg. Kneeling sucks. Kneeling is a very uncomfortable position. You want to get out of there fast, okay? You don't love being there, okay? But unfortunately, you got to learn how to do it. When I started the IDF, I couldn't do the kneeling position. I was a sniper, and I couldn't do the kneeling position, okay? I just practiced and practiced and practiced flexibility, and it fixed a lot of stuff, and this is what you have to do in this position. What happens here, this muscle over here is short, and it's not adapted to the kneeling position. So you have to work on this muscle here so you can be able to do it. The problem is when they go forward and to the right, they're incredibly, incredibly shaky. You watch the sight, it just shakes left to right, left to the right. It's not stable anymore because he's off-centered. His whole entire body is going to the right. His merkaz kovid, we say, his core weight, instead of being on his legs, is off to the right. This causes a problem with angles, okay? Let's go back towards them so they can see you. Let's aim towards them. Okay, so we spoke about leaning to the right. We spoke about the left leg not being in the middle, right? And we spoke about the base being too small. When these legs, if I move this leg now towards here, again, he's making the same mistake. The base itself is short. Look just at that. If you're at 90 degrees and you can sit on your butt, you fixed almost everything because now the weight of the gun is on the ground. It goes straight to the ground. It's not off an angle. And then your whole kneeling position is totally different. You see accuracy that you've never seen before. Now, the problem with the kneeling position is that we have a shake. The gun shakes left to right, just shakes, okay? So now how do we fix this? Now, unfortunately, the targets are normally, you can stand for a second, the targets are normally longer than they are wider. So what happens is when I shake, I can be off target to the right, off target to the left. What happens is that the gun controls me. I don't control the gun. It's the most aggravating thing in the kneeling position. You're shaking, you're shaking, you're shaking, you're shaking, and you're trying to time it correctly, that you pull the trigger at the same time that the sight is on the target. So there are two things you can do to make kneeling a more accurate position. One we're going to show you is the placement of the magazine. So if you can, please, aim this way, and we're going to put the magazine up, okay? What we're going to do now, instead of putting the magazine against his arm, he's going to be putting it on his forearm. So what happens there, it hurts a little bit. It's much easier with long sleeves, okay? So at this point of contact, right here, we are seeing that he's holding the gun now on his forearm and not against it. What happens, this locks it. It hurts a little bit, but again, with the long shirt, it's much easier. And what that does, it cuts down the shake. The gun is a lot less shaking because it's now much more stable. That's option one. We teach soldiers in the IDF to do this from day one. So they fall down from a standing to kneeling position with the magazine already there. That's the way they do it. Okay? Get it, please. Another thing that you can do, because the target itself is thinner than it is longer, we try to control this movement. So I dealt with this for many, many years, right? And I'm talking over 30 years ago. How can we control the movement of the gun? How can I now take control of the gun instead of it taking control of me? And when you're trying to hit a head target at 150 yards, it's not an easy shot in the kneeling position. What I've learned is that if I know where the gun's going to be, I can time my trigger pull and my breathing correctly. The whole aiming, trigger pull, and breathing that we spoke about in session 1 becomes so much easier when I know how the gun will move. So how do we do this? What we do, we aim low on the target, and we physically, mechanically, pick up the sight on the target. It's a very, very small movement, right? You're talking less than an inch or two at firing line, right? It's nothing, right? And all you do is just pick it up and shoot. Pick it up and shoot. I'm now moving from down to up. You try this at the range, it's beautiful. So I'm here, I'm in the kneeling position. I'm aiming low, and I just do a simple movement like this, which is almost nothing. You can almost not see it. And now I'm controlling it. I took away the left to right movement, and I'm making it down to up. Now, why is down to up better? Because I'm controlling it. And secondly, all the movements are inside the target. Even if I shoot prior, I'm still in the target. So even if I miss or I shot early, I'm still on the target. So I always aim at the low part of the target, manually pick it up, and then I pull the trigger. Aim low, manually pick it up. It's a split second, but your brain gets used to it, and then what that does, it takes away 1,000% the left to right movement, because the gun can't go in 4 different movements at the same time. So once you're controlling the movement, you now have the ability to hit the target because you know when you're going to be on target. So these special things, putting the magazine here, going from down to up, and the third thing you have to do is flexibility. I couldn't do this when I joined the Army. I couldn't be in a kneeling position. I could be here for a year. I worked on flexibility that I can put both legs behind my head. It's not a pretty sight, but I can do it, okay? Now, this is just for flexibility, right? It's just a question of getting your muscles ready for it. Now, kneeling sucks. It really does. But once you get used to it and your muscles get used to it, you can stay there forever. And then your accuracy becomes much greater. Why? When it hurts you, when you're not having fun in that position, you want to get out of there. Your brain, instead of thinking about aiming and target and trigger and all that, you're now thinking about, God, this hurts. I'm going to get the hell out of here. You know, when am I out of this thing? You know, we're all shaking off our legs and stuff like that. It's not a fun thing. We sometimes put little pillows on our knee, under our knees, so we can put it there. It feels a little bit better. In the freaking IDF, we have knee pads. You know, in the Israeli Army, you ever see a guy with knee pads? I promise you they're going to be around his ankles because they always fall down. You guys have a system in America that you put the knee pad inside your pants and they're locked there. It's like genius. We haven't thought about that yet. Ours always fall down on us. Okay, so those are how to fix your kneeling problems, okay? If you do what I just said, you're going to see an improvement in the range. Now let's up it a phase. What do we do? Let's talk about how we deal with multiple targets, how we go from target to target, okay? You ready, mate? Okay. So Garrett's going to get in the kneeling position. The rule of thumb is this. If it's in my field of view, let's say I have multiple targets. I have a target on the left and I have a target on the right. If it's in my field of view, my elbow stays on the knee. So let's say Garrett's going to aim to the left now, and now he's going to aim to the right. This is what Garrett can do just with a slight change of body. Okay, all of that area, and at 200-300 yards, that's a long area that he's covering, right? It's a lot of cover, especially, it's just a large area. So if the target is now moving, and I have to, now when you shoot at a moving target, you got two options, right? You can either trace it, or you can wait for it, ambush it, right? So it's either tracking it, or ambushing it. My belief, 1,000% when I built the shooting at moving target doctrine in the IDF, you always use the tracking if you can. I always want to track the target. I never want to wait for it. I only use the ambush system, which I'm basically waiting for him to come to me when I have no choice. Let's say I'm a sniper in Gaza, and there's a guy that's supposed to come out of a door and go from one side of the door to the other, one side of the window to the other, across the street. So now I'm waiting for him in the open area, and when he gets there, I pull the trigger. I had no other choice. I couldn't track him even if I wanted to. But you always want to track a target if you can. Why? Because you want your eyes to be on the target. Always. You don't know what the target's going to do. So if you can track, track. When we're shooting at a moving target, especially at a close range, when I'm in kneeling position, I will disengage my elbow from my knee and I will follow it to the right, okay? So Garrett's not going to pick up his elbow from his leg, and now he's going to just follow the target to the right, okay? He disconnects his eyes, sees where the target is, and he can do like that. So we will always stay in the kneeling position, and when I'm at a moving target, I will do what Garrett did. I'll just pick up my elbow and follow the target. Now, if I have a situation where the target is not in front of me, and now it's 90 degrees from me, it's 180 degrees from me, I first look, I use a pivot foot, I can use my right knee, and then my left knee follows, my left forward foot, and I stay in the 90 degrees. I want to do this again, this is very important. We're now going to say to Garrett, 90 to here, he takes his sights off, he follows the target, he moves. And what he does, he moves his base, so the base stays at 90 degrees. So when I'm moving here, right, I'm at 90. I have two options here. I can go 1 and then switch 2, or I can use my knee as my pivot foot and go 1 and 2. What I need to do though is line these up. Once these are lined up, the front and rear, I'm flying because I kept my 90. When I keep my 90, all the base of the weight is falling on the ground through me. It's when I'm off the 90 that the weight of the gun is not stable. And that's what's killing people when they're not shooting great in kneeling position. They're just not having the weight of the gun go directly down. It's at an angle, it's off to the side, the weight, and they can't control it. It's very hard. You fight with the gun. So that's how we move from target to target. I'm going one more time through this. If it's in my field of view, my elbow stays on the ground. If it's a moving target, my elbow will go off my knee, and I will track it, and I will shoot. If I have to go 90 degrees, whichever way I go, I have to reset my kneeling position. I follow the target, disconnect, I take my right knee or my left leg, whichever one's easier, you move one and then bring the other. It doesn't make a difference which comes first. For me, it's either my front leg, for Garrett, it's either his back leg. All of us choose whichever way we do it. There's no right way or wrong way, okay? So now we're gonna talk a little bit about how do you go from a standing position to a kneeling position quickly. There are 3 options. There's one position that we're going from standing to kneeling in the same place, okay? So when would I do this? Let's say I'm engaging a close target, I took care of him, and now I have a target 50, 100, 150 meters from me. I need to be more accurate. So all I do is fall. I fall to the kneeling position without moving, boom. And I just fell down exactly like Garrett just did. He fell to the 90 degrees, he fell to every point that we just spoke about. So it's exactly what we said we're going to do. He just fell down. I want to be there as quickly as possible so I can engage the target as quickly as possible. That's option 1. Okay? You want to do it again? Okay, one more time. Garrett, go ahead. And down, just going down. Okay? So now we're going to do one where Garrett takes one step to the right. Let's say he has a stoppage when he's standing. Okay? Now I have to deal with the stoppage. I don't want to do it when I'm standing up. So I have to go down to the kneeling position. First, I look for cover. If I have cover, I go to the cover. But if I don't have cover, I never go down in the direct spot where I was standing because the enemy knows I'm here. So I go off to the right if I can. Okay? If I'm right, I'm going to go right. It's easier for me. Okay? So what Garrett's going to do now, he's going to take one step to the right and go down. Now, what's very important here, the way this is done, he's going to use his rear foot, okay, the closest to the right. He's going to take a step. He's then going to bring his left leg over, okay, and then he goes down. What happens in that situation, he stays in the 90. You don't want to crisscross your legs. So what you're doing, you're like this, you take one step and you go down. All you do is you fall down to the 90 degrees every time, okay? So you take your right leg, if I do it slowly, the left leg makes that 90 that we're talking about, straight line, right leg and rear, and all I do is go down, and I'm ready to go, okay? And the third one is how to go to cover. So now Garrett's going to he's going to be shooting in the standing position, and then he's going to use the table here as a cover, okay? So, ready? Up. And then he's going to go to cover, and he's going to use the cover so he can protect himself from the target. Up. So, here we saw all 3 options. He went down in place when he has to shoot at a farther range. He took a step when he had a stoppage, and he used the cover when there was cover. So this is the 3 things you do, or the way to go from a standing to a kneeling position. We always want to go forward. We never want to go back. Anything you want to add here? You good?
Good to go.
Okay. So Any type of questions that you guys have on the kneeling position, let us know. Send us pictures in the standing, kneeling, prone, any position that you think you have a problem with, that you wish you were a better shooter at. Please send us the pictures, and we would love to help you guys, at least give you our thoughts. May help you, may not help you, but that's something we want to do. We thank you guys for watching us. It was a pleasure to see you guys, and lots of love. Hope to see you guys for set 6. You guys, if you can, go watch, go like us on Facebook and on Instagram and do that stuff, and we hope to see you guys then. Take care. We love you. Lots of love. Thanks a lot.